He only wanted a quiet meal, an 81-year-old veteran who had already given his strength to this country. But in that diner, respect was nowhere to be found. A biker decided to humiliate him, turning whispers into stares and dignity into silence. People watched, but no one spoke up. What happened next would leave the entire room frozen and prove that sometimes justice walks in when you least expect it. How did a single moment of cruelty turn into a lesson no one would ever forget? Subscribe and join our community of voices that matter. It was supposed to be just another afternoon. The diner smelled of fresh coffee and fried eggs, the kind of place where locals stop by for a quiet break. At a small corner table sat Mr. Harris, an 81-year-old veteran whose life had been built on discipline, sacrifice, and quiet resilience. He wasn't there to be noticed, just to enjoy a simple lunch the same way he had for years. His back was slightly bent with age, but his presence carried the quiet pride of someone who had once worn a uniform for his country. For him, this diner wasn't just food, it was familiarity, routine, and a reminder of normalcy. But not everyone in the room saw him with respect. Some saw only age, weakness, or worse, someone they thought they could mock without consequence. A biker walked, in, loud, careless, the kind who thrived on being the center of attention. His eyes locked on Mr. Harris, and in that instant, the atmosphere shifted. The veteran didn't yet realize it, but his quiet afternoon was about to turn into a test of dignity, the kind of test no man at his age should ever have to face again. The clinking of forks and the low hum of conversation filled the diner, but it all shifted when the biker's boots hit the floor. He walked in with an air of arrogance, scanning the room as if he owned it. His leather jacket squeaked as he moved, his eyes locking on the frail figure in the corner. For reasons no one could explain, his attention turned cruel. He didn't just look, he sneered. Then came the comments, muttered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Old man taking up space?" The words were sharp, laced with disdain. A few people glanced up, then quickly back down at their plates, pretending not to notice. That's how these moments often play out. Witnesses who choose silence because speaking up feels too risky. Mr. Harris tried to stay composed, focusing on his plate, but the biker wasn't finished. He drew closer, his boots thudding like a warning drumbeat. He hovered over the veteran's table, mocking his age, his fragility, and even his service. What should have been a quiet meal became a public humiliation. Then, the unthinkable, his hand came down hard across the veteran's shoulder. A slap meant not to injure, but to belittle. The room froze, cups rattled against saucers. Conversations died mid-sentence. The kind of silence that follows injustice settled over the diner, and yet no one moved. No one defended him. The veteran sat there, jaw tight, refusing to give his tormentor the satisfaction of breaking down. But inside, he carried the sting, not just of the biker's hand, but of the indifference around him. Racism often doesn't announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides in the silence of bystanders. Minutes ticked by like hours. The biker laughed, enjoying the power of the moment, while the veteran stared straight ahead, holding on to dignity with every breath. But what no one in that diner realized was that this humiliation would not last long, because outside, heading toward the diner, was someone who would not stay silent. The air inside was thick with tension, and every passing second only deepened the unease. Just when it seemed the biker's mockery would go unchallenged, a shadow appeared in the doorway. The biker's laughter still echoed when the diner door creaked open. Boots struck the floor with steady purpose, and in walked a young man in uniform, broad-shouldered, sharp-eyed, the kind of presence that commanded attention without a word. His gaze locked on the corner table, and for the first time that afternoon, Mr. Harris lifted his head. It was his son. The room seemed to exhale all at once. The biker faltered, his smirk slipping into something less certain. He had mocked age, fragility, and silence, but now he was staring into the eyes of someone who carried both strength and authority. The uniform wasn't just cloth. It was a reminder of sacrifice, of honor, of everything the biker had tried. To strip away, the soldier stepped closer, the tension rising with each footfall. Diners leaned forward in their seats, watching a storm build in real time. The biker shifted uncomfortably, trying to laugh it off, but his voice cracked under the weight of the silence. The tables had turned, and he knew it. In that moment, the humiliation he had dished out now hung over him like a shadow. Every hateful word, every cruel gesture, it no longer looked powerful. It looked small. The biker's hand twitched, as if unsure whether to stand tall or back away. And that's when the soldier spoke, not loudly, not violently, but with a calm that cut deeper than anger ever could. The diner had witnessed a man disgrace a veteran. Now they were about to witness what dignity looks like when it refuses to break. The biker's bravado dissolved in the weight of that moment. Faced with the soldier's unwavering presence, he had nothing left to prove, nothing left to hide behind. He mumbled something no one could hear, then slipped toward the door, his swagger gone, his laughter silenced. The diner, once frozen in fear, now felt lighter, as if justice had quietly entered and restored balance. Mr. Harris sat still, his son's hand resting gently on his shoulder. No words were exchanged, because none were needed. Respect had been restored, but the sting of the humiliation lingered. For an 81-year-old man who had sacrificed for his country, dignity should never have been something to fight for in the first place. That day, the diners witnessed more than just a confrontation. They witnessed the cost of silence. They saw how quickly racism and cruelty can strip someone of their humanity, and how equally fast dignity can be reclaimed when someone chooses to stand up. But outside that small diner, the story doesn't end. For countless others, there is no son in uniform walking through the door. There is no instant justice, no quiet resolution. The truth is, too many people still face these humiliations in silence, their pain unseen, their dignity questioned. So the question remains: how many? More stories like this must unfold before respect is no longer conditional, before dignity is not something earned, but something every human is given without question. This story isn't just about one veteran and his son. It's about us, all of us, and the choice we face every time we witness injustice. Do we stay silent, or do we stand? If this story touched you, don't just watch. Be part of the change. Hit subscribe and join our community of voices that matter.